Planes are no longer at ease in the Nigerian skies. Announcements like these for Emirates flights at Nigerian airports may cease starting from September 1 over the non-remittance of its $85 million trapped in Nigeria. Emirates earlier hinted of plans to cut its frequencies from 11 to 7 by mid-August over the unremitted money.
When we signed the bilateral air services agreement with these foreign countries, unhindered remittance of their earnings is part of it, and it's working on it, and I have full confidence in the nearest future this will be resolved. We've been here before, and hopefully we'll get out of it very soon.
That was 2 weeks ago, and obviously Emirates was unconvinced. Over $600 million of foreign airlines money is trapped in the country. Good news, however. The Central Bank of Nigeria has announced the release of $265 million out of the sum. Will it help in addressing the issue? That is an entirely different question for now. But that is just an aspect of the bigger issue. The Nigerian aviation industry is a sector in dire straits. Nigeria is Africa's largest economy with a population of over 200 million. Its aviation industry is huge in potential to drive that economy, but it has not lived up to that billing. There are many challenges impacting the industry, but aviation fuel scarcity and forex inaccessibility constitute an immediate threat. Perhaps nothing better captures the situation in the Nigeria aviation sector than this scene of the Terminal 2 of the Murtala Mohammed Airport here in Lagos. It's a Friday and usually a buzz of activities, but that has significantly dropped.
The situation at the moment where we've got the Minister of Aviation saying that there are no immediate solutions to the problem does lead you and all of us to believe that we are heading for a complete shutdown of the domestic aviation market.
From the local operator's perspective, the operating environment is choking.
We, the operators, have made so much sacrifices out of patriotism to be pumping in a whole lot of funds to maintain operation. It is becoming too much and too long that we cannot sustain it anymore. Well, depending on where you're buying from, in Lagos, 800 or something, in some parts of the north over 1,000 naira.
The immediate effect is the astronomical increase in ticket fares.
The last time you traveled, how much did you get the ticket?
I got it 78,000 economy.
What was that?
That was 3 weeks ago.
Now from 17,000
To 120,000.
Your last similar journey, let's say from Lagos to Port Harcourt, how much did you purchase?
I got it around 53,000, 53,800. And that was like I think 2 or 3 weeks ago when I was leaving Lagos to Port Harcourt, and then
now 3 weeks after,
like you do understand 70 something K rather, like, and this one are based on let's just do it very very fast.
Already, air travel in Nigeria is somehow exclusive. Not all categories of Nigerians are able to afford air tickets with an average economy class between Abuja and Lagos or Lagos to Uyo in the south before now selling for about the equivalent of the national minimum wage of 30,000 naira or $50. That was months back, but with the current situation and the experience of Mr. Okon and others that still manage to fly, the average economy ticket price has shot up by about 400%.
I may likely come by road.
But Okon knows quite well that the roads aren't such a good option either.
3 weeks ago, I came by road. Was so badly, I escaped death.
Many more passengers whose buying powers are dwindling due to the general unhealthy economic situation in the country are abandoning the skies, as these data obtained by Arise News from 2 different sources show. It is a steady decline except for slight alterations in the month of April and June at the Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos. The crisis in the aviation sector has fueled immobility and lack of smooth connectivity, which aren't a good sign for any economy, especially a country of Nigeria's size. So, why is the dearth of fuel, which is a global crisis post-COVID-19 and owing to the Russia war in Ukraine, having such a choking effect on the local aviation operations here.
In other countries, some of the refineries that were actively producing one type of particularly aviation fuel during COVID, redirected their production to other types of fuel. We do have private refineries operating in Nigeria. If the government and NNPC particularly were so minded, they could enable these local businesses to produce local aviation fuel.
The airlines have been shouting that it is the highest out of all the hydrocarbons. In the rest of the world, it is the cheapest, because aviation consumes more. Imagine a flight Lagos-Abuja, 4,000 liters on 1 hour flight. How many cars would that fill? So it's been wrong for many years, and aviators have been shouting.
We hear that we take our oil, we sell it, and we know that when you sell a raw material, you get 10% of the value of that material. We then import the same product, the sub-product of the products we exported, at a huge premium, 5 times probably what we sold it for, and then when we get here, it's not affordable.
According to the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, there are 23 active domestic airlines in Nigeria, including those specializing in cargo operations. But in reality, only about 8 passenger carriers are active, and many of them are battling the depletion of their fleets, not only because of shortage of fuel to power them, but also lack of foreign exchange to carry out required maintenance.
We used to do repair and return when we pay maybe a freight coming from, let's say, Jordan, for example, at $25,000. As of today, it has increased to about $50,000.
This is the current fleet status of the local industry, but no one knows for sure if it has not further depleted since this data was obtained some days ago.
So by the plan we have for our business development this year, we should have had 8 aircraft operating in Nigeria airspace. But unfortunately today, we have 2.
Between Dana and Aero, they have 14 aircraft. So you can imagine 14 aircraft packed. Then 3 of these airlines, 2 are operating, they have 8 fleet. One is operating 4, that's 50%, another 4, then the other one 3. So now one that has 32 is operating 12, one that has 30 before is operating 5, which you alluded that is 4, even maybe as of today is 4, you know. One that has 3 is operating 2. Then one that has 4, a new airline that has 4, has only 2 operational. So if you add all the capacity, the number of aircrafts they have, and the active ones flying, I'm sure, but with the figures I've given, if you add them up, it may actually be lower than 38%.
A foreign currency challenge is another window to look at the harsh environment pervading the industry, which in itself is just an aspect of the current harsh economic situation in Nigeria, where the lending rate is multi-digits.
Think about it. In the US now, you can get 2 to 3% interest. In Nigeria, you're over 20%, 18 to 20%. So you're paying close to 10 or 10 times higher cost of capital, which is the money you need to operate.
Today, aircrafts are not considered as viable collateral for the Nigerian banks. If you have an aircraft who have invested a lot of money, and there may be funds available, there will be CBN fund. These funds you have to access on a normal commercial basis. It might be a single-digit loan, yes, but it does not pay us well when you have to send this money. You have invested their money in aircraft. CBN requires your bank to give you a guarantee to be able to access that money. No doubt you must have to pay. And then your bank, if for instance you want 10 billion naira to inject into your operations, your bank will expect you to deposit the 10 billion naira for the bank to give you the 10 billion naira guarantee to CBN.
The airliners receive payment in naira. That is one issue. And they would need to, and CBN or through the banks cannot provide all the dollar needs of an airline, for example, which means they have to look for alternative markets to get, including the parallel market, to get it.
A significant part of such have to obtain foreign currency still goes into payment of expatriate staff, especially pilots, for which the industry is famous.
If you are in a high cost operating environment, that's one of your costs that you don't necessarily have to incur. So I don't see that there should be a preference to foreign pilots versus local pilots. There was a time when passengers preferred to see a certain type of pilot flying the aircraft. I don't get that sense anymore.
Out of the 20 airports officially recognized by the authorities, only 4 are viable. Others are either non-functional or operating at a capacity way too low, thereby limiting the routes available to the airlines. About 4.3 billion naira is the estimated loss on flights not utilized per aircraft annually due to sunset operations to which they are restricted.
I don't see the reason why somebody should not be taken off from Abuja Airport 12 p.m. to land in Asaba by 1 a.m.
The more you are not tackling the issues of runway lights, navigational aids that are not functioning beyond 6 o'clock, we've got issues.
The crisis in the sector is not as much for lack of interventions by the authorities, we gather, but due to the absence of methodical approach to issues. The aviation sector roadmap unveiled early in the life of the Buhari government with specific focus on transforming the industry by setting up a national carrier, giving out the airports to concessionaires, setting up an aviation leasing company, as well as maintenance, repair and overhaul facilities to curb capital flight, will have addressed significantly most of the issues now plaguing the sector. But for some reasons, none of the components of the roadmap has been implemented 7 years after.
On the face of it, it sounds like a good idea. But when you dig deeper into the sector and you realize the structural, fundamental, foundational problems that exist that aren't tackled by the roadmap.
During the COVID-19 period, a lot of fees, charges that these airlines were supposed to pay were actually suspended, and government gave them a grant to mitigate the cost, personnel cost and all that, and they actually paid them. Now you can argue whether the money is enough based on this, but it's a mitigation, it's a support. And then even regarding this Jet A1 fuel, government too is actually trying. And I also know that some of these airlines, they were able to buy new aircraft or new spares, actually assessed the funds through the banks and through CBN, and government actually provided them with that forex need, or else they wouldn't have been able to meet up with the acquisition of these aircraft.
Nigeria has bilateral air services agreements with over 78 countries. There are many benefits for the local industry to be tapped from such if the politics is played right. But there are doubts if it is.
All these people, when they're traveling, it's Emirates they fly. Meanwhile, if you have flown APs to Dubai, you will not fly another airline because their service is class A. And AP stands for Asman Air, it stands for Max Air, it stands for any other airline that's qualified for that route. It is in patronizing them regularly that they will build up the capacity and build a network.
It is a win-win situation if this industry should be supported. So we're expecting that what certain things that are being benefited by the power sector, that arrangement which the Minister of Finance has promised to look into and work out with both the CBN and the banks will go a very, very, very long way. But our prayer is that it should happen sooner than later.
There are ongoing deliberations and consultations to sort out some of the immediate issues. But as such exchange of ideas deep enough to guarantee a robust domestic aviation industry for Africa's largest economy, it is certainly a question that all involved must answer sincerely at this time with the future in mind. Okubo Oyetuji, Arise News, Lagos.